Liverpool were looking so good this time last week. They've lost 2 games since then, and now they've lost their keeper. I'm Iain Macintosh, this is Football Fast No Faff. Let's go Route 1 in association with Jolson. And more on them in a moment. Well, there's no doubt as to the pick of the games this weekend. It's the nouveau riche of West London against the established football aristocracy of Merseyside. That's Chelsea-Liverpool, by the way. Now, a week ago, we'd have been going into this preview looking at Chelsea and how they've only won 2 from 6 and all of those injuries and suspensions and a constant sense that the Matthew Harding stand is one bad result away from completely losing it with Enzo Maresca. But that was before Palace and Galatasaray, and the news that Alisson, the best goalkeeper in the world, and I shall brook no dissent on that matter, is out, possibly for 6 weeks, possibly for 8 games. Neil Atkinson joins us now from the Anfield Wrap. Neil, is it panic stations in Kirby, or did you see enough of Mamardashvili in the Euros to feel this is going to be okay?
There shouldn't be panic stations, and that's not just because of Mamardashvili. The thing to point out is that Alisson, through his career at Liverpool, has loved a little 9-10 game break. 2019-20, he makes 29 league appearances, and in the last 2 seasons, it's been 28 in each of the 2 of them. Kelleher, really good job last season filling in for him. I think at the point at which he dips out of the side, Kelleher, there's maybe been just about enough, and you're ready for Alisson Becker to come back. But that's the same with Adrian, going back to 19-20 as well. It's a little bit of a funny moment for Liverpool. I feel as though the idea that Liverpool have been absolutely atrocious is now being somewhat over-egged. Liverpool have played 6 league games and won 5 of them, and they're really poor, full of individual errors first half at Selhurst Park. They concede with the first shot of the game from a set piece, and then from there the half isn't very good. But I think as part of this, it's worth sort of pointing out that second half then Liverpool do more than enough. They should be 3-0 down at half time, they're not, and at the point it goes 1-1. You're sort of left feeling as though Liverpool deserved that for the second half performance, if not the first. Galatasaray, they were fine for the first half, have a bit of hard lines with the penalty, and then they're pretty abject for the seconds, and the game sort of ebbs away. But that's it. You know, you look at the rest of the fixtures that Liverpool have had so far this season, 9 competitive ones, and they've won 7 of them. And for periods in each of those games, they've been the better side. Not having Alisson, you want to have the world's best goalkeeper when you can. But I think the most important thing for this Liverpool side at the moment is that it holds its nerve, accepts it's going through a difficult moment, accepts form and fitness is a little bit inconsistent across the whole team, and from there battens down the hatches and makes sure it emerges from Stamford Bridge with at least a point.
If you're a Liverpool fan and you haven't discovered the Anfield Wrap, you're doing the internet wrong. Rectify it immediately. Elsewhere, it's a very evenly balanced weekend. There's Bournemouth-Fulham tonight. The Cherries are still unbeaten in the league since the opening day. Your early Saturday kickoff is a fun one. Leeds, who are quietly going about their business this year, against a Spurs side wildly overperforming their statistics and who played in the Arctic Circle in midweek. I'm calling that a home win. Just 2 Saturday threes for you, but they are good ones. Arsenal, the league's dominant force at set pieces, play West Ham, who are catastrophically poor at defending set pieces. That could get messy. And how will Old Trafford react if this impetuous Sunderland side, 3 wins on the board already, take Manchester United to the cleaners? Liverpool supporting Lola on socials will definitely not be looking for an illegal way to tune in and find out. There are 5 games on Sunday, 4 of them at 2 p.m. Chris in the writer's room will be nervously watching Everton against 19-game unbeaten Palace. Dino, who does video, he'll be at Aston Villa Burnley. I'll be slowing down to Gorp at Newcastle Nottingham Forest, and doubtless someone somewhere will be watching Wolves Brighton, but alas, not from this office. The weekend wraps up with Brentford Man City at 4:30. If that doesn't light your candle, consider this. Brentford have scored in every single game they've played this season, so you never know. In the EFL, we've got the documentary Derby as Wrexham take on Birmingham. That's tonight at 8. You can see Frank Lampard's high-flying Coventry at Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow at 12:30. And me, I'll be at Roots Hall to see a stuttering Southend take on Aldershot in the National League. This was supposed to be our year. Starting a new business can be incredibly daunting. I've done it 3 times now. Still gives me the heebie-jeebies. However, my most recent venture, this one, was a lot less stressful, Thanks to Jolson. They're a B Corp certified commercial law firm, which means they're committed to using their business as a force for good through their social and environmental performance, while also, they're really, really good at what they do. From startup to exit and everything in between, they've worked with brands like Innocent, Proper, Addison Lee, Tenzing, and Lucky Saint, to name just a few. Now, Jolson are offering 10 viewers of this show a free legal consultation with one of their lawyers on issues relating to fundraising, IP, manufacturing, partnership agreements, or employment issues. All you have to do is visit there, jolsonlaw.com/route1, and submit your request. Jolson guided us through company setup, investment, shareholder agreements, all the legal stuff that really terrifies me. So if you want stress-free expert legal advice for your business, check out jolsonlaw.com. Proud sponsors of this week's Route 1 and also next week's Route 1, because we missed a few at the beginning when I was ill. You'll find all the details in the episode description. If you've only got a passing interest in the Bundesliga, you might have heard of Harry Kane's goal-scoring heroics or Leverkusen sacking Erik ten Hag, but you might have missed news of Borussia Dortmund's very nifty start to the season. For those who don't know, let me tell you, Niko Kovac's side sits second in the Bundesliga, unbeaten. They've scored 4 goals in both of their Champions League matches so far. Had they not conceded 2 late goals in both of their draws this season against St. Pauli and then Juventus, they'd have won every single game. Seb Stafford-Bloor is the Athletic's German correspondent. Seb, what's been working so well for Dortmund this season? And can they continue their fine start against RB Leipzig on Saturday?
Actually, that unbeaten Bundesliga record goes all the way back to March and to Leipzig, because the last team to beat Borussia Dortmund in Germany was RB. Very different sort of Dortmund that day. I think the change in them under Kovac has been in a few different areas. Firstly, they're a lot more stable defensively. They're a lot better at handling transitions. Previously, under Nuri Sahin, in a weakness that ultimately cost Sahin his job, they were very fragile, very brittle. They could attack and they could be quite expansive and interesting, but they were always so susceptible to turnovers and vulnerable to the counter. Whereas Kovac's Dortmund are kind of the opposite. They are very, very strong defensively. I think they've conceded just 3 times in the Bundesliga all season. They've got their first choice defenders now back. So that's Vladimir Anton, Nico Schlotterbeck and Niklas Süle. So back 3. They're all in place, and various members of that defence have been injured recently. So that's a good development. But I think the big victory under Kovac has been the form of Karim Adeyemi, the attacking midfield, who's always been quite a capricious player. He's always had really great moments, but fleetingly, 5 or 6 weeks of good form before it disappeared. But heading into this game, he's now gone 5 straight games with a goal and an assist, which is, I'd argue, the form of his career. And in around players like Sarah Guirassy, Julian Brandt, who's also really recovered his form under Kovac. Dortmund are quite workmanlike. They're not the old Jurgen Klopp team. They're not really comparable to the flair of Thomas Tuchel's side, but they are wholly decent and competitive, and very clearly the nearest challengers to Bayern Munich this season. And particularly in Dortmund, they'll be very strong. So I think home win against RB Leipzig.
You can, and indeed you must, seek out Seb's brilliant Bundesliga coverage at theathletic.com. Now, we told you earlier this week there have been on average 5.9 goals in every Eintracht Frankfurt game. Well, this weekend they welcome Bayern Munich, for whom Harry Kane alone is averaging 2.1 goals per game. That's on Sky Sports at 5:30 on Saturday. That's 2 perfectly watchable Bundesliga games right there. Get stuck in. If you want to use your football watching windows to catch up on a bit of League this weekend, then let me point you in the direction of Lille versus PSG on Sunday at 7:45 on Amazon. Lille keeper Berk Ozer will go into that one on top of the world after his incredible hat-trick of penalty saves in a 1-0 win against Roma last night. Check that out on social media if you haven't seen it already. Real Madrid might have won 5-0 away at Kairat Almaty on Wednesday, but they lost 5-2 to Atletico Madrid on Saturday. Xabi Alonso will want a response to restore some calm, but he could have wished for an easier opponent than Villarreal. Marcelinho's side are in great form as Sevilla, Athletic Club and most recently Juventus have learned. A Villarreal result at the Bernabeu wouldn't be the biggest surprise this weekend. Speaking of Sevilla, they welcome Barcelona, who will themselves be looking to bounce back after defeat against PSG. Sevilla haven't beaten Barca in La Liga for a decade. Atletico Madrid will see if they can score 5 goals for the third game in a row, this time away to Celta Vigo, and all of those games are on Premier Sports in the UK. In Italy, AC Milan follow up their clash with Napoli with a trip to Turin to take on Juventus. Milan sit top of the league so far thanks in no small part to Serie A top scorer Christian Pulisic's fine form. And elsewhere, it's finally here, the moment we've been waiting for. Jamie Vardy's going to the San Siro and his newly promoted Cremonese side are yet to experience defeat this season. This story could write itself. And Atalanta versus Como, that's there for the hipster in your life, 7:45 on Saturday. And like all Serie A games, it's on DAZN. Few other things to squeeze in before we go. Nottingham Forest were beaten last night at home to Midtjylland, and wow, the atmosphere at the City Ground was not pleasant by the end. Matt Davies-Adams, we had you on the show 42 days ago. We said, Matt, surely they won't sack Nuno. Look where we are already.
Do I have to look where we are already? Can you not just give me a little bit of breathing space between me and my 2-time European champions who have suddenly turned into an absolute bunch of chumps? This was always going to happen, wasn't it? You can't go from styles so diametrically opposed as Nuno Espirito Santo's and Ange Postecoglou's are without it all going pear-shaped. But I didn't think it would be quite this toxic quite so quickly. It looks like Postecoglou's on hiding to nothing, but Evangelos Marinakis is a stubborn man, and actually, despite his reputation, he's not massively into changing managers for Forest, so I reckon Postecoglou's got a little bit more rope, but Newcastle on Sunday is a horror game for him to have. Very unlikely Forest are going to get anything whatsoever from that. I think as supporters, we were kind of accepting of the fact that the Premier League season might have to go by the wayside in order for us to have some fun in Europe, but if that's not happening either, crikey, it's going to be a long old slog.
Scottish football doesn't get the best press these days, but it's the Edinburgh Derby this Saturday at 5:45, and if Hearts beat Hibs, they will be 5 points clear at the top of the table, albeit with Celtic playing Motherwell on Sunday. When was the last time a non-Old Firm team won the title? I'll tell you in a moment. And finally, the England squad has been announced, and it didn't have Jude Bellingham's name in it. Didn't have Jack Grealish's name in it either, which surprised me. Manager Thomas Tuchel has mostly kept with the same squad that performed so well in Serbia last time out. While I'm not sure I would have made the same calls, I have to say it is nice to see an England manager brave enough to not just pick the biggest names regardless of any other factors. Oh, and when was the last time that a non-Old Firm team won the title in Scotland? 1985, 40 years ago. It was Aberdeen, then managed by a young man by the name of Alex Ferguson. I wonder what happened to him. That was Route 1. It was Football Fast, no faff, and it's here every weekday at about 3 p.m. If you like it, give it a like. And if you really like it, give it a subscribe. And if you subscribe, remember to ring the little bell thing that gives you notifications. I've been Iain Macintosh. Your audio producer was Helena Fremantle. Your video editor was Deane Thrussell. Your video producer was Sean Nicholas. Chris Smith was in the writer's room. Lola Katz-Roberts and Sophie Manners were on socials. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. See you then.